What's up everyone, it's Lo, Beauty Demon, and we are back to talk about internet BS. We're gonna talk about Def Noodles, oh my god, and his second roast. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I post. And please don't send anybody any hate, negativity, nothing like that. These are just my thoughts and opinions based on what I'm seeing play out on the internet. So if you have something to say about what we're talking about, just shoot it down in the comments below. That's what they are there for. Before we get to the epic second roast battle, I feel like we need to kind of take a little bit of a journey to what's been building and culminating over the past week. Dennis, Def Noodles, has been in a Twitter battle with Kavos, the YouTube creator from the UK, who audited his channel back in I'm not sure if it was 2019 or 2020, but he audited his channel, gave it a poor review, and was very upsetting to Dennis. He actually posted a video being very tearful that he was gonna, leave YouTube. And Kavos, if you're not aware, he does a lot of commentary stuff, but he also talks about the YouTuber boxing stuff. He's really into that stuff. So he challenged Dennis to a boxing match in a boxing ring. I don't know who was gonna fly out where, whatever, it didn't matter. Because instead, Dennis wanted it to be a street fight. He wanted it to be bare knuckle, no hold. He said he wanted it to be like Kimbo Slice, where he punched out a guy's eye. So he wanted to completely, permanently mangle and disfigure Kavos. In fact, he even said that he wanted to murder him in the streets. So Dennis is on this weird delusional trip that he can box like Kimbo Slice. So he wants to be just like him. Hold on, Kimbo Slice died when he was 42. Dennis, you're not far off from that age, so better be careful what you wish for. Of course, Dennis is typing all of this in all caps all the time, just being the new internet bad boy that he wants us all to think he is. In the meantime, there are lots of people that are calling Dennis out and making videos just about that in and of itself, because I really condensed everything that was going down on Twitter in just a few couple sentences. I honestly thought about making a video just about those tweets in of themselves, but I decided, you know what? The roast battle is coming up in a couple days. I want to see what happens then. We still gotta backtrack a little bit. There's another creator named Salvo Pancakes who makes videos about Dennis, like a lot of people. Salvo's very crazy and outlandish. I don't really watch him very much at all. I've maybe seen one video. He also talks a lot about Ethan Klein, doesn't like Ethan Klein. I believe this person does work with Keemstar. They've also been having back and forths, and Dennis has been saying, put up or shut up. Show up to my comedy show, let's roast each other, let's see. So that is what Salvo decided to do. He paid his own way. He got a hotel in Los Angeles. He came all the way, I'm not in Los Angeles. He went all the way to Los Angeles for this roast battle from Cleveland, Ohio. Now, he was there, I think the day before the roast battle. He got to Los Angeles. He, was doing live streaming stuff, walking around downtown LA, showing all the landmarks, showing where the comedy club was and where everything is. He's kind of just being a tourist, except for, a little more obnoxious than your average tourist, even though tourists are just pretty obnoxious in general. He apparently went to the comedy club and stood out. Comedy club. We're gonna use the term comedy club loosely here, by the way. So he stood outside the comedy club, stood out there for 20 minutes. He was filming. I don't know. Dennis did show a small portion of this in a video we're gonna talk about, but eventually he left. After Salvo showed up at the club before the event, Dennis, on his Def Noodles channel, posted a video, "My life has been threatened." In this video, he talks about how, he shows some of the footage of Salvo being there, and he just shows small little snippets. He said he eventually stood out there for 45 minutes. He tried to come in, but the place wasn't really open, even though the open sign was on. So it's well, which is it? If you're not open to the public, then you're not open. So I would turn the sign off. And he says it's very dangerous for Salvo to be there. He couldn't be there right now because they're doing a lot of construction in the comedy club, literally that day. And he even shows footage of which he says is happening in that moment, that day of the comedy roast, that they're doing construction and moving things around and ordering new furniture and things like that. And I'm you're doing all this the day of the show? All of this for this place. I voiced in my last video that I was concerned about like the safety of the stage. I'm honestly concerned about the safety of this entire club. This place is very small. I imagine, now I obviously don't know, but the way he makes it sound like that he's like building walls and stuff, that this is probably just some sort of like old retail front, and who knows what kind of ventilation is in there. People said during the roast battle it was extremely hot and hard to breathe at some points, especially when you have like big lights that are on you on a stage. Not having proper ventilation, and I believe only one exit for, he said he had up to maybe 50 people in this place. That's a big safety concern in and of itself. Anyway, and then the fact that they're like doing construction the day of is kind of a little alarming as well too. I can understand like decor basics and stuff, but maybe don't focus on just putting in new lighting and getting a graffiti artist in. Focus on getting like proper ventilation and stuff so people don't overheat and die. So anyway, in the video, you know, he says that it is a safety concern for him to come, and also it's a safety concern for the people who are there as well, that they don't know who he is. They're not involved with any of this internet stuff because he has all these other businesses that he's running out of this place. I wonder how many offices that he has like walled off in this like retail-y space. In this video, he also outlines that, you know, he's taking the utmost care in the safety of everyone in his club, that he has hired extra security, which I'm gonna tell you, to be honest, I really only saw like maybe 2 security guards, and those people were not there to protect the crowd. They were there just to protect Dennis. They were not there for actual event security. And then we get into the roast itself. And it started off with a bang. Now, first of all, he used images from Space Ghost as like his beginning screen, and I was pretty pissed off about that because you do not get to soil the good name of Space Ghost Coast to Coast with your roast. And second of all, it started off with Salvo on stage. I think they were all chanting F Def Noodles, and all of a sudden the door on the back of the stage busts open and Dennis comes out and pushes him right off the stage. So all of that stuff that he was saying about safety completely went out the window the second the show started because he pushed him off of his rinky-tooting stage. So that, with the construction happening literally the day of, obviously safety is not as big of a concern as he would claim it is. And he said in a video that he filmed right after the event that he did that to set a boundary with the show. Now, I do get that Salvo was antagonistic, but Dennis has also been antagonistic. I don't really think pushing him off of the stage is a great way to establish boundaries within your comedy show that you want people to have a good energy in. It immediately makes all of the energy in the room completely toxic and creates a huge divide. If you want a successful comedy show, you need to be able to control the audience. He could have came out, given Salvo the mic to get whatever he needed off of his chest and get it out of the way. Maybe it would have actually made the show a little funnier. But I mean, really, when it comes right down to it, it was written in the stars that this was gonna be a bad show, because how was it not gonna be bad? The show was also once again riddled with all these technical issues. They would cut a lot of audio, which I assume is because they just didn't want us, the viewers of the live stream, to hear what was being said. Because when Dennis first came out, there was no audio. You could not hear anything that was being said for the first several minutes. And then there were various clips where audio was just cut. Also, at various points, they had the projector running with no screen, so you would see like a computer start bar like running across everybody, and that's just like super annoying. Just once again, like, where's the tech here? I would hear hot mics in the green room area, people going back, and you could hear them talking, and you could hear it on mics. Even at one point, like, background noise was playing, and Dennis actually leaned through the drive-through window of this comedy place and told them to turn off the USB. He said it several times. Nobody is really working hard on the show at all, and it's very evident. Other than all of the Salvo parts, which I'm going to talk more about, this show was incredibly dull and boring. No jokes. Well, I mean, there were jokes, but there weren't funny jokes. In fact, there was one comedian, I guess is what you would call her, aspiring comedian. She literally didn't make any jokes until the very end, and that just came to her. She even admitted, I don't know, I didn't like prepare anything for this. At least the guy that she went with seemed like he was one of the most prepared. I will say there was another comedian who tried to prepare, at least when it came to things to roast Dennis on, because before the roast battle that day, I was actually on the Def Noodles subreddit, which, by the way, they're eating him alive now. And this guy had actually posted the poster for this roast battle and said, you know, he saw his name on there and he didn't know that he was supposed to be on there. Nobody had talked to him at all about this. So he didn't know if he was going to go. And in the thread, he asked for like information about Dennis to, you know, potentially roast him on. People gave him, you know, the basics. And he did show up and he did try to roast Dennis, but just like every other joke, it just fell totally flat. Like, all of these comedians, the aspiring comedians that he gets to be on here, are not prepared for what is about to go down with these roast battles. They do not know who Dennis is, the notoriety he is getting on the internet right now. They're just so ill prepared because they don't even know each other. Nobody had good jokes. There was nothing funny going on here. And the most entertaining parts, like I said, were with Salvo. Now, they were, I say entertaining, but not so much entertaining just in the sense of like, wow, this is hilarious. More so it was like shocking. I couldn't believe what I was watching. So finally they do all this shitty roast battle stuff that is not good. After the roast battle stuff, he finally agreed to let Salvo on stage after he, threw him off stage after, oh yeah, I didn't even mention the fact that some girl came out towards the end of the show and just chucked a drink in his face. So he doesn't care about the safety of people who have come to a show because he pushed him. He could have pushed him onto other people. And then this girl comes out and throws a drink. I'm assuming she was somebody's girlfriend because a good chunk of the show, also towards like the end, Dennis's friends and fellow comedians that were on the last one coming out and pretty much just trying to heckle the hecklers in the audience, mostly Salvo. It doesn't create like a funny, welcoming environment. The entire thing is a safety hazard. It's possible you could be physically injured at this show. It doesn't even seem like the comedians want to be there or want you to be there. They don't want anyone to be there. They kept ridiculing Salvo for spending $50. Apparently he had to spend $50 on a ticket now. I thought they were $15. But he spent $50 on a ticket and he said, that's weird. You just came here to hate on Duff Noodles. That's weird that you spent money. Dennis did the same thing when he went to Ace Fest. He bought a ticket to go and confront the Ace family and be slightly disruptive. That's not anything different than what Salvo just did. Then when they finally let Salvo get on stage, it was, well, for a while, once again, it was a lot of audio, like cut. You couldn't hear anything that was going on, so I have no idea what was being said. And then eventually Dennis asked people in the audience if he should even let Salvo have the mic, and people, of course, said yes. And even one person in the audience, a woman, said, Dennis, I love you, but yes, because this is what he's been talking about. Put up or shut up. Salvo is putting up. He's not shutting up. He is stepping up. Towards the end of this 1.5 hour live stream, he gives him the mic. Salvo says he's not going to do jokes. He's got a monologue. He just wanted to talk about Dennis lying about his age and how crappy he is. And he really only was able to talk for, I don't even know if it was quite a minute because they cut him and the seemingly one actual bodyguard that was working for Dennis picked him up and removed him, and then the stream ended. So Dennis starts his second roast battle with pushing Salvo off stage, and he ends his roast battle with removing him. Honestly, he probably shouldn't have ever let him in. I don't know why he did. He said he valued the safety of all of the people coming, and he knew that this was going to be something that happened. He knew that Salvo was coming to get some sort of reaction from him, so he gave him the reaction that he wanted. He's lucky that Salvo isn't the kind of person that fought back, that stepped up, that did something. He brought a bodyguard. What if his bodyguard did something? Like, I don't really know, like, I feel like that guy probably, obviously he didn't do anything. There's a lot of what ifs. Like, it could have gone really bad, really fast, and he just called it setting boundaries. He is setting physical boundaries that this is not a welcoming space. I don't know exactly what Dennis was expecting though. He wanted people to come. He has been threatening people on Twitter with physical violence. I guess I'm not really surprised that he did this then, if that's the case. I'm actually surprised he didn't take it further because he's, really wanting to get into like street fights with people. I don't know if I'm gonna watch the third roast battle because it just takes so much time, but there were moments that had me screaming, not so much with laughter, not at all with laughter, more so screaming in astonishment that I was witnessing this. This was one of the most chaotic things I've ever seen. Dennis as a comedian and a business owner, I don't get it. I don't see it. He doesn't care about anybody's safety. I don't think it's a good idea that he continues. It's obvious that things are probably going to escalate. He seems to think if he just ignores the trolls and whatnot that this is going to stop. I don't think so, because now they're seeing there's an avenue, there's an in. You can't control your audiences at your shows. Salvo had almost total control of the entire show. The audience was interacting with him more. The performers were interacting with him almost exclusively, except for a couple times that they engaged in a roast battle. My advice, once again, is take some classes. He needs to work on his craft. Maybe take some other kind of theater classes. I still don't know where the humor, the improv, the comedy. He said that he has studied improvisational humor with some of the best people, and I just still haven't heard any jokes. This roast wasn't even a joke this time. This roast was a whole ass dumpster fire. Was there anything else? There were so many crazy things that happened in this roast that I'm trying to like think if I wanted to talk about anything else. I even had to rewatch it. Yes, I rewatched this, and I actually watched it on, well, most of it I watched on 2x speed, but I did go down to like 1.5 speed, and that makes it at least a much more normal pace because there's so much silence between them. Oh yeah, the girl from the first one, Miranda, came out, the one that said the F slur and got him banned on Twitter. She said a lot more insensitive jokes. She was very pissed at the audience. In fact, all of Dennis's friends were very aggressive, most specifically towards Salvo, of course, but you know, he had a huge chunk of people there that were with him, supporting him. She would just come out, give them the finger. She said a lot of shit to them. There was some things that obviously, once again, I couldn't hear. At one point, there was like people on stage. I don't even know what they were doing. That's the thing about watching this roast battle. Sometimes you have no idea what the hell is going on because there's just like 4 or 5 people on stage and they're all just kind of mumbling and they're kind of just like moving back and forth and they're just standing like this, and I have no idea what any of them are doing. But at one of these points, she came out and was just videotaping it and flipping off the entire audience, not just this guy Salvo's supporters, but also Dennis's supporters and people who maybe came there to see her. And apparently Dennis, immediately after the show, he had to film that video because he was flying to Vegas to do a comedy show. I wonder if they watch this roast battle before he goes up. Maybe, I don't know if he'd be going up tonight or tomorrow or whatever. If I was the person that booked him for the comedy show in Vegas, I would be, you know, just cashing out and cutting my losses on that. There's no way I want this guy on my stage. Anyway, I don't know if there's anything else I can say about this roast battle of his. It was completely atrocious. The way he started and the way he acted throughout the entire thing. It's weird. He came out and he was like super aggressive. You could tell he was like saying things to Salvo, but you couldn't hear anything because the audio was cut. I don't know. Like, what is going on with him? What is happening to Deaf Noodles? I am just completely flabbergasted at this point. And he says this is the happiest he's ever been. I refuse to believe that. Anyway, you guys, that is it for today's video. I'm kind of like at a loss for words. Like, I know I just said like a lot of words, but it was really hard to film this video because at some points I just could not articulate the bewilderment that I was going through watching this. And tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you also haven't already, please check out my second channel, Nostalgia. This is where I dive into all things that are nostalgic and nerdy, a lot of video games, comic books, toys, stuff like that. Thrift hauls probably coming soon. Anyway, I will see you guys in my next video. Laters. Bye.